welcome aboard, everyone. It's Donovan and Dino on a Wednesday night with Jim Donovan. I'm Dave DeNatale. Obviously want to talk with Jimmy about the introductory press conference of Andrew Berry today in Berea, but I have to bring up first and foremost the passing away of Kirk Douglas.
Yeah.
You guys had it right at the top of the front row tonight. There's a movie that Jimmy and I love, a good war movie from the mid-'60s called In Harm's Way that he did with John Wayne
And
Patricia Neal.
yeah, who was the guy that was the Penguin in Batman.
Burgess Meredith.
He was in the movie. It was
Yeah.
an incredible cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great movie, and you know, it's like I sit there and go, yeah, he was Spartacus. And I asked Russ Mitchell what was his favorite Kirk Douglas movie, and you know, you sit there and think, well, Paths of Glory or Spartacus or you know, all the westerns he did, OK Corral, and it's pretty. He's the last. I think you guys were talking about it. The last of the really golden oldies of Hollywood's royalty era. He was it.
And I know he suffered many years back a severe stroke.
Yeah.
That really had him struggling physically to speak and everything. But it didn't stop him from going to award shows and appearing on award shows and even continuing in some roles. And sometimes even with his son.
Yeah.
And great actor, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Just and I mentioned on
103.
103.
Wow.
Probably as soon as the this month is over, for those of you that like Turner Classic Movies, one of my favorite networks, I would imagine they'll be having a bunch of tributes and things. And the Academy Awards will be this Sunday. You'll see a tribute probably to him there as well. So Andrew Berry is the Cleveland Browns' new general manager. He was front and center today in Berea, and I think if you were hoping to find out what his secrets were going to be and how he's going to build the Browns or run the Browns, you might have been disappointed. But I think this idea that everybody's on the same page, they continue to use that word alignment. I think if you were worried about an arranged marriage, I think you should feel better after things he said today and things that Kevin Stefanski said.
Yeah, I mean, they know each other from a year ago when Kevin went through the interview process and Andrew Berry was part of the interviewers and the selection committee when Freddie Kitchens ended up as the head coach of the Browns. But remember, Stefanski was interviewed twice, and so Andrew got a chance to meet him, talk to him, and those interviews go for long periods of time, 8-9 hours each time. So they really got to know each other. They stayed in contact with each other this past year, even though Stefanski was with the Vikings and Andrew at the time was with the Philadelphia Eagles. The day was a really nice day, and it was a great visual day. Andrew has a lovely family. He's got great support from his entire family. His mom and dad were there. His brother, I think he has a twin brother.
Yeah.
He was there, and it was nice. But now it's go time. I mean, it really is, because the Super Bowl is over, and this is really when the general manager and the personnel department, the scouting department, it's their season now. They have to go out and they have to find people. They have to find players. They have to, convince free agents to take a look at the Browns. And they have a lot of decisions to make even on their own roster. So it was a great day. He's as I've said to you before, and to all of you, he's an incredibly classy, intelligent guy, but this is a big job.
Yeah.
And so he's been given a tremendous opportunity at the young age of 32, the youngest ever in the NFL, the youngest now and the youngest ever in the NFL to hold that position. But now it's go time.
Right. Now, he doesn't act like a 32-year. He sounds older and more wiser than one at 32 would be.
Harvard will do that too.
Yeah, yes, it does. But I thought he was very smart today, for those who still are concerned about the analytics. Try to get that word out of your vocabulary. I've really tried this last month to do so. He came out and said, hey, look, we're going to still do things a traditional way, scout-based. Like you mentioned, the people in the pro personnel department and the scouts who have been evaluating the Browns roster, but all the colleges and all the crop of players that'll be out there in the draft. It's not like they're going to be splitting the atom trying something new. They're just going to embrace other philosophies other than just, okay, we're going to scout him, we're going to coach him, and we're going to play him. I mean, but it's not like they're reinventing the wheel here.
No, and I think what's happening is the word analytics is associated with the record 1-31.
Yeah.
And I give Andrew a lot of credit today. He knew that was going to come right down the pike at him once he went to open questioning. Hey, you were a part of Sashi Brown's organization and regime that went 1-31. That brought us Hugh Jackson and Corey Coleman and Deshaun Kaiser and all of those players, okay? And he didn't duck that.
No.
You're right, I was. In fact, he thanked Sashi Brown a couple of times and credited with him to helping Andrew get to the point where he's at today and to educate him on other things that are important in the job that he's gotten to today, negotiations, salary cap situations. That was really Sashi Brown's expertise was in that line, negotiating, and although I didn't think he did a good job with Mitchell Schwartz, but negotiating and really maneuvering the salary cap, which was a big part of the 1-31. I mean, to some extent, they were kind of, they were given the mission, hey, get us as many picks as we can get and get us as much salary cap room as we need to try and really rebuild this thing. And I think that analytics has become a real hot point with everybody around here. And wherever you are on that, deservedly so if you think that led to a 1-31. But it also might have led to Nick Chubb.
Yes.
And Baker Mayfield. Yeah. And Denzel Ward. And people like that. There was a I'm not saying it was the smartest thing that they did. And he even admitted today it was unbelievably painful to go through and to be a part of. But the fact of the matter is they came out of it. Now, they thought they were going to be out of it a little bit better because it was a disappointing year last year. So I think he did a good job, like Stefanski did a couple of weeks earlier on the announcement of his hiring, like Dee Podesta did the day that Stefanski was announced, that maybe we need to calm down about the analytics. Everybody uses it. But it probably goes back, Dino, to when Dee Podesta came here because he was a baseball guy, and analytics is driving a lot of the buses in Major League Baseball.
But and Andrew said today, hey, look, the 49ers, we all just saw the 49ers in the Super Bowl, the Ravens, those teams, the Eagles are all teams that are embracing this intelligence-based and mathematical-based and looking at things beyond just scouting reports at how they analyze, player development and things going forward. And when he said that to me, I'm like, it's not like, the Browns may have been the first to hire somebody like Sashi Brown and certainly Paul Dee Podesta, but it's not like other teams aren't doing this now.
No, I think everybody tries to get as much information as they can.
Right.
So they take in as much information as they can, whether it's on a particular player or a style of defense or offense that they're going to use or what you do on fourth down. It's as much data as they possibly can gather. I think what everybody's worried about is that driving the bus, though? Are we just using numbers? Are we adding up an equation, coming up with an answer, and that's what we're going to do? Or, and kind of, forgetting the football part of the business? And I'd like to think no.
It sounded to me like the year he spent in Philadelphia was huge for him. I mean, he couldn't stop talking today about Howie Roseman and how important learning from him was for the Eagles. I think referred to him as a future Hall of Famer, which I think is probably accurate down the line. But it sounds like that year away from Cleveland, from his development standpoint, was huge.
Yeah, and Howie Roseman. We can go back to the Carson Wentz trade that the Browns were involved in and how that turned out for Philadelphia. And I know Wentz has been hurt a number of times, but he took them. Wentz took them to the NFC top seed, and then Nick Foles took them the rest of the way when Wentz got hurt. But the Browns were a part of that. That was their trading partner in that. They were going in different directions at the time. The Browns were accumulating.
Yes.
Philadelphia wanted to go right now. Roseman's an interesting guy. Now, he's kind of a bounce-back guy, remember?
Yeah.
Because Joe Banner had kind of knocked him out of power at one point, and then Roseman reestablished himself and kind of rid himself of Andy Reid.
Yeah.
And they moved into a different direction and a new era. And I'm sure that knowing Andrew, he used every day in Philadelphia as an education process for whatever was going to happen next.
what did you take from both Andrew Berry and also from, I heard Jimmy Haslam talking about him too, Kareem Hunt and Odell Beckham, in terms of how the Browns are going to view players? He mentioned Hunt, because the question came about Hunt, about those who have pasts that may be questionable, and they talked a lot about accountability.
Yeah.
Today.
Well, I think I picked up a different tone on each player. I think that they realize, when they met with OBJ, I think they liked what they heard. And let me just say this. He can be very charming.
Yes.
I mean, he can really be charming. I enjoyed, as the year went on, talking to him, whether it was a Wednesday or a Thursday or after a game on Sunday. He can really do it. He's good, okay? Not so good at the national championship game with LSU, but very good week to week. And so I can imagine that they had a good meeting with him and they liked what they heard and they love what they see on the field. And if he's healthier next year, which appears to have been a major nag for him all season long, so much the better. So I think they like that. I don't think they like the Kareem Hunt situation at all. And I think they're worried about it. And the key is going to be, he's a restricted free agent, Dino. What are they going to offer him in the way of a tender?
Yes.
Because they could offer him a first-round pick, and that way it's going to be very difficult for someone to match that. They could offer him a second-round pick, or they could offer him what he was drafted as, a third-round pick. Okay?
Right.
And then that becomes easier for a team to swallow if they want him and take on Kareem Hunt, and then the Browns get back a third-round pick in that. So that will be interesting, because Jimmy Haslam seemed to be, hey, this is not good. I mean, I'm quoting him. Not good. This is not a good situation, and it really hasn't been a good situation since the season ended. There have been a couple of situations that have been uncomfortable there with Kareem Hunt. If this continues to happen, I can't see if they feel the payoff is worth the problem.
Is there a point between now and the start of free agency we might know what the Browns are going to do as far as what they're going to tender him as?
Yeah, there'll be a deadline. March 18th is the start of the new business year, and they can do it at any point, but that's usually the deadline. And, well, that is the deadline. And then, he's got all the time in the world up until, he can accept it or he can decline it, but he can't play. I mean, the Browns do control him for this upcoming year. So that will be interesting. The other thing that he needs to remember is this, and I know he thinks he's a tremendous talent, but consider this, and we see it in the dash cam video. He talks about, I should be playing in the Super Bowl, right, to the officer that pulled him over. Now how does he feel this week?
Right.
He should have won the Super Bowl, right?
Be on the float.
Here's the other thing he needs to remember. Let me throw out some names to you. Okay, Raheem Mostert, all right, had a huge part of the San Francisco 49ers' success. Had that incredible game in the NFC Championship game. Okay, Raheem Mostert is not a big name running back, but because he was in the right system, he got the job done. Damian Williams had an incredible Super Bowl for Kareem's old team, the Kansas City Chiefs. Damian Williams is, not a big name running back, okay? Nick Chubb's a very special player, okay? But I hate to be cliche-ish sometimes, or brazen sometimes, but, they say running backs can be a dime a dozen. So if you're not worth the headache, you may have very special talent. But if they're all constantly going to have to be worried about what you're doing away from the facility, and is there a possibility of a suspension? I mean, we don't know if the NFL is going to act on this thing.
Right.
Is it worth it? Because you can get a running back.
Right.
And there you have that.
Especially in this offense that's going to be coming in that will run that wide zone.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Jimmy, as always, we appreciate it. My
Okay.
friend. All right, we thank you so much for watching. For Jim Donovan, I'm Dave DeNatale. It's been Donovan and Dino right here on 3 News Facebook Live and on YouTube.
All right. Really, I think I think he's a pain.